My name is John. I'm a former soldier, a mercenary now. My life had become a series of contracts, a blur of shadowy figures, cold steel, and quick decisions. I'd traded the structured world of the army for the dangerous freedom of the freelance life, a world where my skills were currency and my life a gamble. I was good at what I did, efficient and lethal. I never questioned the morality of my missions, as long as the payment was good. I was just a tool, a weapon, nothing more. My latest contract was a simple one, at least initially. A billionaire named Victor had a problem with a group of environmentalists who were causing trouble on his land in the Alaskan wilderness. Victor was a man who valued control and efficiency above all else. He was a man who got what he wanted, no matter the cost. The environmentalists were a nuisance, and he wanted them gone permanently. My mission was straightforward. Infiltrate their camp, scare them, and if necessary, make sure they didn't come back. The Alaskan wilderness was vast, and their camp was supposed to be isolated, a perfect place to disappear. It was a far cry from the urban warfare and high-stakes security detail I was used to, but the money was good. I packed my gear, the standard cold weather combat kit, along with extra rations, a silent sniper rifle, and a few other tools of the trade. The flight to the remote airstrip near Victor's property was agonizingly slow. The plane dipped and swayed in the turbulent Alaskan air, the vast, snowy expanse below seeming endless and unwelcoming. Even the seasoned pilots looked uneasy as the wind whipped and snow began to fall, making the view outside a blizzard of white. As the plane finally touched down, the wind howling around us, a sense of unease settled into my gut. The air was thick with the scent of pine and something else, something damp and cold like decay. It was unlike anything I'd encountered before. I felt a shiver run down my spine, despite my thick layers of protective clothing. It wasn't just the cold. The landscape around the airstrip was stark and beautiful, an unforgiving, breathtaking canvas of white and gray. Towering mountains formed a jagged, snow-capped backdrop, their peaks cloaked in clouds. The air was silent, except for the howling wind, creating a feeling of utter isolation. It felt like the edge of the world, a place where man was a mere visitor, a temporary blemish on the landscape. I knew I was not prepared for what I would find. The path to the environmentalist camp led deeper into the unforgiving wilderness, and with each step, my unease intensified. There was a palpable sense of tension in the air, a silent threat that vibrated beneath the surface of the untouched snow. I was alone, save for my equipment, the haunting echo of the wind, and a growing feeling that I had made a grave mistake. The Alaskan wilderness was a character in itself, a harsh and unforgiving entity that dictated the rhythm of life. Days were short, the sun a pale orb in the vast sky, struggling to pierce the persistent cloud cover. Nights were long, filled with an unnerving silence broken only by the mournful howl of the wind. The cold seeped into everything, a constant reminder of the fragility of human life in this environment. The landscape was a tapestry of snow and ice, punctuated by dark, towering evergreens. The air, crisp and biting, carried the scent of pine and damp earth, a subtle reminder of the decay hidden beneath the pristine snow. There was a beauty to it, a wildness that was both captivating and terrifying. The mountains held a presence, a silent watchfulness that made me feel like a trespasser in a realm that wasn't mine. Victor, the man who hired me, was a tycoon with a reputation for ruthlessness. He had built his fortune on resource extraction, exploiting the Alaskan wilderness for its natural wealth. His image in the media was that of a shrewd, innovative businessman who brought progress to the region. However, rumors swirled amongst the locals about his questionable practices and his complete disregard for the environment. The environmentalists, my targets, were a varied group. They were dedicated to protecting the delicate ecosystem of the region and challenging Victor's relentless exploitation. Their leader, a woman named Sarah, was rumored to be a passionate and fiercely intelligent advocate for their cause. She wasn't just some wild-eyed activist. She was educated and organized, and that's what made her a threat to Victor. I'd seen pictures of her, heard her speeches online. Her intensity, her unwavering belief in their cause, was evident in her eyes. It was a belief that would eventually make her a threat to us all. The other members of her group I had only seen in photographs and blurry videos. They were a diverse mix: students, teachers, scientists, and others who had felt the call to protect the land. There was a raw determination in their faces, a shared conviction that fueled their commitment to the cause. Even in the face of danger, that I soon realized that this mission was not about protecting an ecosystem. This was about something much darker, much more sinister. The whispers in the local bars and the hushed tones of the townspeople started to make a pattern. Victor's actions, the rumors, they were all connected. I sensed a conflict between the man and the wild, a simmering hatred for this land and the people who would dare defend it. He wasn't just after profits. This was personal. The weight of my contract started to feel heavier, the initial sense of adventure fading into a growing sense of unease. The silence of the wilderness was no longer simply tranquil, but a heavy blanket of foreboding, the stillness before a storm. The trek to the camp was arduous. The snow was deep, and the wind relentless, pushing me back and biting at my exposed skin. I moved slowly, carefully, trying to minimize my noise. The landscape was a constant challenge, a relentless reminder that nature could be a dangerous adversary. As I neared the camp, I began to hear faint sounds, voices, the crackling of a fire. I hid behind a towering spruce, watching and listening. The camp was small, a collection of tents and makeshift shelters nestled in a small clearing. There were about a dozen people, huddled around a fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames that I could see Sarah, the leader, standing near the fire, her face etched with worry. She was holding a small, shivering child, and I could see the concern in her eyes. It was a sharp contrast to the woman I'd seen in the videos, a far more vulnerable image, and one that I was not prepared for. My mission, I began to feel, was becoming even more complex and problematic. That night, I moved closer to the camp, using the cover of darkness to conceal myself. I observed them, studied their routines, trying to understand their dynamics, their personalities. The fear I felt was not only from the elements, but also from the realization of what I was doing. I was meant to intimidate these people, scare them, but with each passing hour, I found myself hesitating. The next morning, I decided to make my move. I climbed onto a high vantage point and took out my sniper rifle. I intended to fire a few warning shots, create some noise, make them know I was there and that they should leave. But as I looked at them, their faces, the fire, the innocence in their eyes, I couldn't do it. I simply couldn't pull the trigger. That hesitation, however, was noticed. One of the environmentalists spotted my position and raised the alarm. The camp erupted into chaos. They scattered, shouting, fear evident in their voices. Their initial reaction, even though they did not know the extent of my intentions, was to run, to hide. It was then I knew that my mission had taken a dark turn. The hunt was on. They were running, trying to evade me, to escape my presence, and my role became far more sinister than I ever could have imagined. It was as if the landscape itself was guiding my actions, urging me towards a path I hadn't intended to take, a path I was starting to realize I could not escape. The chase became a game of cat and mouse through the unforgiving landscape. I followed their trail, my determination fueled by a mixture of duty and a strange sense of guilt. I felt like a predator, stalking prey that was far more vulnerable than I'd initially believed. And I was beginning to wonder if this was all part of Victor's plan. That as I tracked the environmentalists, I discovered that they had a hidden network of allies in the local community. They were supported by a small group of locals who helped them with supplies and information. This network provided them with a lifeline in the vast wilderness, but it also exposed them to further risk. Victor wouldn't just stop at them. If he was truly set on getting rid of them, he would go after their allies. Too that I started to find cryptic messages, hidden clues left behind by the environmentalists. They were a desperate attempt to communicate with each other, to keep track of their movements, and to confuse me. It was a testament to their resilience and determination, and it made the task of intimidating them much harder. The pressure was mounting. I needed to finish this quickly. My supplies were dwindling, the weather was turning harsher, and the days were becoming shorter. The growing sense of isolation was making me feel as though I was going mad. The lines between hunter and hunted started to blur, and I was unsure who I was supposed to be anymore. That I started to question my role, my purpose. Was I just a pawn in a larger game? A disposable tool for a man whose motives were becoming increasingly unclear? I began to doubt Victor, his intentions, his methods. He was not the benefactor I'd initially thought him to be. In the back of my mind, I began to wonder if I could still salvage this situation. Perhaps I could help them. Maybe I could simply warn them, let them escape to another location. It wasn't my usual style, but the longer I stayed in this unforgiving wilderness, the more my morals started to change. I was tracking Sarah and a young boy, their footprints the only evidence of their journey through the deep snow. They had been separated from the others, and I was closing in on them. I felt a pang of guilt as I followed them, a sense that I was playing a dangerous game. Suddenly, I heard a scream. I rushed towards the sound, fearing the worst. I found Sarah fighting off a large grizzly bear. She was desperately trying to protect the young boy, her face contorted in a mixture of fear and rage. Without thinking, I intervened. I drew my weapon and fired a warning shot, the sound echoing through the snowy expanse. The bear turned its attention to me, and I knew I had to act fast. I was able to scare it away, but not before it inflicted a deep gash on my arm. The injury was painful, and the blood flowed freely. As I tended to my wound, I looked at Sarah. Her eyes were wide with shock and gratitude. She looked at me, this mercenary, this hired gun, this man who was supposed to be her enemy, with a flicker of hope. In that moment, something shifted within me. I felt a surge of protectiveness, a sense of responsibility that I hadn't anticipated. I realized I was no longer just a tool. I was a man facing a choice, a decision that could change the trajectory of my life. I looked at the child, whose eyes were wide with fear, and I knew I couldn't abandon them. In that moment, I understood that I was no longer following Victor's orders. My mission had changed, my contract had been broken. I was now caught between a choice of completing my mission or acting on my conscience. I realized that there was something far greater at stake here, something far more important than just completing a simple job. And as I looked at the landscape surrounding me, the wildness, the unforgiving beauty, I realized that I was truly alone. Victor was a phantom, a figment of my imagination, and my sole purpose was to protect these people. It was a decision that would forever change my path. My decision to protect Sarah and the child had immediate consequences. I was no longer just a hired gun following orders. I was a target, a traitor. Victor would not be happy. The injury to my arm, initially a minor inconvenience, became a growing concern. It throbbed with every movement, a constant reminder of my vulnerability. The cold Alaskan air was slowing the healing process, and I was starting to worry about infection. I knew that I needed to find the rest of the environmentalists, warn them, and protect them. But I also knew that Victor would be looking for me, sending his own men to deal with me. My actions had created a new danger, a new conflict that I hadn't anticipated. Sarah, initially hesitant, began to trust me. She could see the sincerity in my eyes, the shift in my actions. We worked together, me, a mercenary, and her, a staunch environmentalist. A peculiar alliance forged in the face of adversity. We found the others, who were hiding in a cave, exhausted and scared. They had witnessed what happened. They had seen the man who was supposed to be their executioner become their protector. And they knew that the true nature of their enemy was far more sinister than they had initially imagined. The news of my betrayal spread like wildfire. Victor's men were sent to hunt me down, to finish the job that I had abandoned. They were ruthless, driven by a cold, efficient loyalty to Victor. Their presence added another layer to the looming sense of danger. The harsh beauty of the Alaskan wilderness became a battleground. I was a man caught in a conflict that was far beyond my initial understanding. My actions had brought unexpected consequences, a web of unforeseen challenges and dangers. The wilderness had become my enemy, and my only allies were the people I was supposed to be eliminating. The constant threat of pursuit forced me to adapt. My military training, honed over years of service, became essential for survival. I taught the environmentalists basic combat skills, how to defend themselves in the unforgiving wilderness. It was a strange combination, a former soldier teaching a group of activists how to fight. The cold, the constant threat of starvation, the fear of the unknown pushed us to the limits of our physical and mental endurance. We relied on each other, sharing our knowledge, skills, and vulnerabilities. The bond between us grew stronger with each passing day. I had to overcome my own internal struggles as well. The guilt of my past actions, the realization of the darkness that I had participated in, weighed heavily on my mind. I was no longer the emotionless weapon I once was. I had a conscience, and it was demanding I confront the choices I'd made that I started to question my entire life, the path I had chosen. Was I truly capable of change, or was I forever destined to be a tool for others? It was a tormenting question, a struggle that occupied my thoughts in the long, dark Alaskan nights. The environmentalists, in turn, helped me to heal. They reminded me of the beauty of the world, the importance of fighting for what you believe in. Their unwavering commitment to their cause, their courage in the face of danger, inspired me. They showed me that there was more to life than simply surviving, that I began to feel a sense of purpose that I had never known before. I was no longer just a mercenary, a weapon for hire. I was a protector, a defender of those who were weaker, a man trying to right the wrongs of his past. The journey was far from over. The threat of Victor's men still loomed. The wilderness still presented its own challenges. But I was no longer alone. I had found a new family in the unlikely group of environmentalists, and together, we were stronger. The days turned into weeks, each one a struggle for survival. We moved constantly, trying to stay ahead of Victor's men, who seemed to be closing in. The locals who had been supporting the environmentalists started to disappear, hunted down or scared away by Victor's relentless pursuit. Our network of support was crumbling, that we learned that Victor had a network of informants, people who lived among us, who were feeding him information on our whereabouts. We had to be more cautious, more secretive. Trust became a precious commodity as we tried to weed out those who might be working against us. The threat of winter was approaching, with the temperature dropping to frigid levels. Our supplies were dwindling. We needed to find a way to resupply, but any attempt to reach civilization would risk exposure. The pressure was immense that we moved to a remote, hidden cabin deep within the mountains, hoping to find refuge and prepare ourselves for the coming winter. The cabin was old and dilapidated, but it provided a temporary sanctuary. We fortified it as best we could, preparing for any potential attack. There was an unnerving quietness, a sense of impending doom. The landscape was stark and unforgiving, mirroring the precariousness of our situation. Every rustle in the trees, every snap of a twig, sent a wave of fear through us. We were on the edge, the brink of a confrontation we were not sure we could win. We discussed our options. We could try to escape to Canada, but that would be a long and dangerous journey. We could try to fight back, but we were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. We could surrender, but that was unthinkable, given the risks to everyone we knew and cared for. The choices were limited, our options dwindling. But we were united, bound by a shared purpose and the need to survive. The tension was palpable, the air thick with anticipation for the coming storm. The quiet of the cabin was shattered by the sound of approaching snowmobiles. Victor's men had found us. The cabin was surrounded. We were trapped. The ensuing firefight was a whirlwind of chaos and fear. Bullets ricocheted off the walls, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. We fought with a desperate ferocity, fueled by adrenaline and the will to survive. I fought with a vengeance, the soldier within me taking over, my actions driven by the need to protect the people I had come to care for. Sarah, surprisingly, was incredibly capable in combat. Her intelligence and determination made her a force to be reckoned with. She had become a leader in every sense of the word, a fierce protector of the people she believed in. I was truly impressed. Despite our valiant efforts, we were outnumbered. The cabin was slowly being overrun. I knew we had to make a move, a desperate gamble to escape, that I took a chance, leading a daring breakout through the back of the cabin. We ran through the snow, the icy wind whipping through our faces. We had to reach the mountains, find a hidden crevice, a place where we could hide and regroup. We fought our way through the snow, evading our pursuers. But then a horrifying sight. One of Victor's men, a hulking brute, caught up to Sarah. He was going to kill her, and I knew I had to act that I charged at him, my adrenaline pushing me forward, the anger coursing through my veins. I fought him with a raw, primal force, my body reacting before my mind could even process the danger. And then I saw Victor. He emerged from the shadows, a chilling smile upon his face. He was watching, and then he spoke. "You made a mistake, John. You betrayed me. You should have stayed a tool." His words ignited a fire within me. It was then I realized the true horror of what I had been involved with. It was then I realized that this wasn't just a mission, not just a job. This was personal. "You won't win," I said, my voice fueled by a desperate hope. "Oh, I think I will," he replied. "And then I'll make sure that the only thing you'll ever be good at is dying." And with that, the true battle began that we fought our way through the snow, evading our pursuers. But then a horrifying sight. One of Victor's men, a hulking brute, caught up to Sarah. He was going to kill her, and I knew I had to act fast. Without hesitation, I charged towards him, my weapon raised. I fired, the shot echoing through the snowy landscape. The man fell, his body collapsing into the snow. It was a desperate act, a gamble that could have gone horribly wrong, that we continued our escape, running deeper into the mountains. The relentless pursuit continued. We were exhausted, injured, but determined to survive, that we finally reached a narrow crevice in a rock face, a hidden refuge that we hoped would provide temporary shelter. It was a tight space, offering little protection from the elements, but it was our only chance that as we huddled together, we heard the sounds of Victor's men searching for us, their voices echoing through the mountain. They were not giving up. That I in that moment, trapped and cornered. I knew we were facing our final stand. We were out of options, our escape route cut off. This was it. It was now or never. And then I saw it, a glimmer of moonlight reflecting off something metallic. I d'un passage. I grabbed Sarah's hand, and we dove into the unknown. It was a secret passage, leading to a hidden cave system that none of us knew existed. The cave system was a labyrinth, a maze of dark tunnels and twisting pathways. We had no idea where it would lead, but it was our only hope. It was a risky move, but it was our only chance for survival, that we continued to evade Victor's men, using the cave system to our advantage, navigating through the narrow passages and hidden chambers. The darkness was absolute, the air heavy with a damp, earthy smell, and the sound of dripping water echoed around us, creating a haunting symphony that we were finally alone. The pursuers had lost our trail. We were finally safe, or so we thought. That we spent several weeks hidden in the cave system, recovering from our ordeal. The cave was a harsh environment, but it provided us with a sense of security. We learned to live in the darkness, to rely on each other for survival. We were a family, bound together by our shared experience, that we eventually found a way out of the cave system, emerging into a remote, untouched part of the Alaskan wilderness. We were free. The news of our escape spread slowly, and the world learned of Victor's ruthless actions. He was exposed as a man who valued profit over people, a man who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. His empire crumbled as a result, his reputation shattered. He was eventually apprehended and brought to justice, his crimes exposed for all to see. The local community rallied around us, offering us food and shelter. They were grateful for our role in exposing Victor, for our part in protecting the wilderness that they loved. Sarah and I continued to work together, advocating for environmental protection. We used our experiences to educate others about the fragility of the environment and the importance of protecting it. We became a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of resilience and determination. That as for me, I had found my purpose. The mercenary life was over. I had found something far more meaningful, a reason to live that went beyond money or contracts. I had found a home that my scars, both physical and emotional, served as a constant reminder of the horrors that I had endured. but they also served as a badge of honor, a testament to my growth and transformation. I had become a different man, a man who had learned the true meaning of courage, compassion, and the strength of the human spirit. Years later, I still live in Alaska. I built a small cabin near the mountains, a place where I can find peace and solitude. Sarah and I are married, and we have a family. The wilderness is our home, our sanctuary that we still see the scars of Victor's reign. But we are working to heal the land, to restore its beauty. We are a reminder that even in the harshest environments, hope can bloom. The past is never truly forgotten, but it can be overcome. And sometimes, the greatest battles are fought not with weapons, but with courage and compassion. This is my story, my journey through the unforgiving beauty of the Alaskan wilderness. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail. It's a testament to the human spirit, to the capacity for change and resilience. Share your thoughts on my story in the comments below. Let me know what resonated with you, what surprised you, what you think I could have done differently. And if you enjoyed the story, be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel for more thrilling tales of survival and suspense. Don't forget to click on the next video or story that appears on your screen. You never know what chilling adventure awaits. You might be surprised by the secrets hidden within the depths of the unexplored, the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of ordinary life. That be ye brave, be curious, and explore the unknown. You might just discover something extraordinary.